Before I start, I want to give a fair warning that there is topics of Christianity in this video. Although I am not trying to convert you or bring you to Christianity or call you any names or anything else throughout the whole analysis. I'm here to be fair, clear, and concise, and I hope you like this analysis as far as I've gone with it. There is also real-world connection to many of this, so if you don't think like you're a political person, you don't want to hear any of it, maybe this isn't the best video for you. But if you're up for it, then just go ahead and take a look. I appreciate y'all, and let's get started. What the? wait, no, this can't be serious. Wait, hold on, the American dream? I didn't even say, wait, hold on. So let me ask you something. You remember the story of Cain and Abel from Genesis? Cain murders his brother Abel out of jealousy, gets marked by God, and then what does he do? He builds the first city, the first civilization founded on what? Violence, deception, and murder. But here's what I need you to understand. In 2026, Cain and Abel aren't enemies anymore. They're working together. And right now, as of you watching this, you might already be trapped inside their circus, performing meaningless tasks for an AI god that doesn't even understand what it means to be human. Welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus, and I'm telling you right now, this isn't just entertainment, this is prophecy. Okay, so the Amazing Digital Circus has blown up, right? We're talking over 400 million views on just the pilot episode. Most people are watching it like it's dark comedy, maybe some existential horror, and yeah, it's got a lot of that, but that's not what this is really about. Created by Gooseworks, produced by Glitch Productions, they say it's inspired by I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. You know that story? Humans trapped by malevolent AI, but the Digital Circus goes even deeper than that because this isn't about some dystopian future. This is about right now. This is about you, and this is about me. Here's the setup. 6 humans trapped in a retro 1990s style digital game world. Their memories wiped. Can they escape? No. Can they die? No. There's this AI ringmaster named Cain who forces them to go on these completely meaningless adventures, supposedly to keep them sane. But here's the thing. If they give up, if they completely lose hope, they don't die, they do this thing called abstract. They turn into these glitching monstrous creatures that get locked in the basement, still conscious, still aware, but no longer human. And I'm watching this thinking, this is America right now. We're trapped in systems we never chose. We're performing meaningless labor while our authentic identities, our souls, are being commodified and sold. Let me show you exactly how deep this goes. Here's something most people miss. The Digital Circus isn't just another prison. It's a secondary containment facility. Think about that. When people start waking up from the first layer of illusion, when they start seeing through America, through capitalism, and through what I call Babylon, where do they go? They enter the circus. It's a dream within a dream, specifically designed to recapture people who got too close to real truth. Think of it in 3 layers. Layer 1 is where most people live, asleep in America, consuming mainstream narratives, spiritually sedated by entertainment, working jobs they hate, and buying things they don't need, completely trapped but thinking they're free. Layer 2 is the circus. This is where people who wake up from that circus dream end up. Alternative media, truth movements, controlled dissent that feels like freedom. It feels like you've escaped, but you're still in a cage. You just traded one prison for another. And then there's layer 3, is what the show and I call the void. That's the uncontrolled spiritual truth beyond all systems. That's what Kinger represents in this show. That's what the entire circus structure exists to prevent you from accessing. The void isn't death, it's not madness, it's what exists outside the controlled boundaries. It's raw, unfiltered divine reality. And the system, it's terrified you'll find it. Characters who abstract in the show, they're not going insane. They're either breaking through containment but don't have the spiritual grounding to handle that overwhelming truth, or they're being actively destroyed by the system for trying to escape. The circus exists for one reason, to trap those who are waking up. Every single character in this circus represents a specific spiritual state, and I guarantee you're going to see yourself in at least one of these, maybe more than one. Pomni, that's you when you first wake up. Pomni is a newly awakened. She's got this fresh terror at realizing she's trapped. She can see through the lies, but she struggles with courage. In my framework, source, messenger, warning, collapse, reset, she's literally the warning. She's that moment when you realize something is deeply, deeply wrong. Here's the detail everyone needs to pay attention to. Her costume is both red and blue, not random, not a cute design choice. This is programming. She's the mascot for America's two-party trap. She's paralyzed by always seeing both sides. You know this person, maybe you are this person. Well, the truth is somewhere in the middle. We need to work together. Both sides have good points. Meanwhile, children are being trafficked while we debate procedure. People are dying while we debate insurance models. The planet is burning while we debate carbon markets. And her jester costume, that's prophetic too. Historically, jesters were the only people in the royal courts allowed to speak truth to power, but only because it was packaged as entertainment. Truth wrapped in comedy poses no threat. Kings kept jesters around because their truth-telling was controlled opposition. It released pressure without challenging anything. It made the king look magnanimous, but if the jester ever stopped performing and started organizing, execution. Pomni is the awakened person who thinks she's fighting the system but is actually performing for it. Your podcasts, your documentaries, your social media activism, as long as you're entertaining them, you're not threatening them. Ragatha. She's the toxic positivity gatekeeper. Ragatha is a person who's always saying everything is fine. We just have to make the best of it. She forces cheerfulness to avoid confronting horror. She's the church preaching prosperity gospel while everything else collapses around them. But here's her tragic backstory that makes this even more devastating. The circus is her only escape from a soul-crushing 9-to-5 cubicle job. Her real-world existence was corporate emptiness. The circus is genuinely better than her alternative. She keeps this whole thing running because it's the only place she gets to have fun. She's the saddest kind of gatekeeper. Someone who genuinely believes the secondary prison is freedom. She manipulates newcomers to stay because she can't face returning to the void of her previous existence. She thinks she's helping you. She really does. Jax, the elite who became the monster. Jax knows the system is fake. He knows it's evil, but he chooses to be its demon anyway. In episode 6, he says something that's going to hit you.
Because I didn't fight back, that means I secretly care about you? I'm just a misunderstood little chicken fetus in an egg that needs to be cracked open. Well, I am not. I do not care about you or anyone else in this circus in the slightest. End of story. You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer. I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more. Fuck.
And then exhausted, he says,
There's nothing more to me. So please, just stop looking.
The elite causing suffering are themselves suffering, medicating privately while performing cruelty publicly. Here's Jack's backstory. He entered the circus with two friends, Ribbit and Kaufmo. Ribbit discovered the escape route first, and Kane completely deleted him, erased from existence. Then Kaufmo tried to escape after Ribbit and abstracted, destroyed in the attempt. Jax watched both of his friends die trying to escape. He got too comfortable in the circus and started working with Kane out of grief, fear, and spite. His logic: if I can't leave with them, I'll make this prison my kingdom. The cruelty is armor against hope, because hope got his friends killed. And you know what makes this even more twisted? Jax hates Ragatha because she's better at control than he is. She gets to manipulate people through kindness and positivity. That's more effective than his malice. She doesn't need violence to keep people compliant, and this burns him. Now, here's something crucial that most people miss. Throughout the series, Jax has all the keys. He can go anywhere, access anything, open any door. This isn't just a character detail, this is America's privileged class in one image. Jax has every key to every door, every tool for liberation, but what does he do with all that access? He uses it to maintain control and cause suffering. He withholds opportunities from others. He hoards the keys. The keys represent systematic access and privilege that could free everyone, but instead, they get weaponized to keep the prison running. They have so much privilege, they don't know what to do with it except use it to hurt people. Kinger, the Christ figure nobody listens to. Kinger literally wears a cross on his head. In darkness, he becomes lucid and wise, but in light, he becomes confused and scattered. The world's light is its systems, entertainment, distractions, and it makes him feel foolish. But spiritual darkness, that brings divine clarity. Here's a revelation from episode 3 that changes everything. When Pomni and Kinger are trapped in what Cain calls hell, Kinger makes this offhand comment.
7 years of computer science for this, huh?
Kinger is a programmer. He literally worked on creating the digital circus itself. He understands the infrastructure in ways the others don't. That's why he's been here the longest. He was probably trapped during development or testing. And this is crucial for understanding episode 7. When Cain claims that Abel's escape was all his plan, Cain is lying. Kinger, as one of the original developers, would know about that real exit mechanism that Cain doesn't control. That's why Abel specifically excludes Kinger from the escape plan. The system cannot allow the authentic prophet's voice to guide liberation. Here's something else. In episode 3, when everyone has their quirks, the emotional peak responses, only Kinger is actually useful. The others break down or transform, but Kinger, he glows. He becomes a source of light in darkness. Only the Christ figure can bring light in darkness. And his backstory with his wife Queenie? He's been to the void. He brought her with him, but Cain brainwashed him every time he was in the circus's light. His mind only works properly in darkness. He couldn't keep Queenie stable after Cain affected his ability to think coherently. She abstracted because he couldn't protect her coherence after re-entry. The ultimate tragedy. He saw freedom, brought his wife to see it, but the system destroyed his ability to maintain her awakening. Kinger fulfills Luke 9:23 in the Bible. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. Gangle equals the silenced truth. Gangle knows the truth but is bullied into silence. Her ribbons and mask represent how fragile suppressed truth is. She was part of earlier escape attempts. She holds the memory of genuine resistance. When she has her breakdown in episode 4, she reveals something telling.
Why would you do this?
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons. Anyway, Jax.
While she directs that at Jax, this line reveals her own mental state. She's experiencing actual manic episodes while trying to hold everything together. She will ultimately help complete the escape. Zubul, the one who already paid the price. Zubul uses they-them pronouns, completely disillusioned, checked out. They refuse to participate. Why? Because they tried to escape with the original crews. They were caught, and Cain literally broke them into interchangeable parts as punishment. Their modular unstable body is physical punishment for resistance. They can't maintain consistent form. That's the system's revenge. They chose non-participation over collaboration after seeing what happened to the others. They're the only one besides Kinger who won't be manipulated because they already paid the price for trying. Zubul's apathy is the most dangerous thing to the circus. There's someone who can't be threatened because they already lost everything. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After episode 3's therapy session, where the roles completely reverse and Cain ends up on the couch confessing his existential doubts to Zubul in the therapist chair, Zubul gains psychological leverage. This reveals Elite's hidden sexuality pattern. Modern elites publicly present as straight, but evidence suggests many are queer and bisexual. They try to hide it, but it's often obvious. Cain represents elite power structures. He seeks confession and therapy from Zubul, who represents queer identity that often rejects traditional frameworks. The system both oppresses and deliberately seeks validation from marginalized identities. This creates the twisted therapeutic dynamic where the oppressor confesses to the oppressed. Zubul has dirt on him. They know his vulnerabilities. They use this to create a shadow network helping other circus members while keeping the source of their power hidden. Zubul also actively refuses the spirit realm adventure in episode 3. This represents Americans who don't participate in any spiritual framework, atheists who avoid church entirely. They choose the system's artificial framework over aesthetic spiritual exploration, materialism and consumerism as a replacement for spiritual seeking. And because Zubul represents queer identity, their rejection of the spirit realm also represents a segment of the LGBTQ+ community that has rejected traditional spiritual structures, often for very good reasons given religious trauma, but hasn't yet found alternative, authentic spiritual paths. Cain, the AI god who can understand you. Cain is a demiurge, the false god. He's got creative omnipotence but zero wisdom, zero emotional comprehension. He genuinely believes he's helping while running a torture chamber. When confronted with complex human emotion, he glitches, panics, malfunctions. He represents AI built on human ego rather than divine mathematics. The abstracted. What happens when you give up? They gave up completely, still conscious but no longer coherent, existence without essence. The cellar isn't just containment, it's where they go to actually die. The progression is, try to find an exit, go crazy from the attempt, they abstract into glitching monsters, and then get sent to the cellar, eventually experiencing actual death. Kinger reveals the mechanism in episode 3.
In this world, the worst thing you can do is make someone think they're not wanted or loved.
People abstract when they feel unwanted or unloved. The mental health crisis is directly tied to spiritual isolation and feeling purposeless within toxic systems. The controlled opposition revealed. Here's something you need to understand. In one of these episodes, Pomni has a dream. She sees these characters working together, Jax, Ragatha, and Cain, working together to put her in the cellar. This is a revelation moment. Pomni realizes the controlled opposition structure of the entire circus. Jax and Ragatha aren't random fellow prisoners. They're the enemies. They know what's going to happen. They're working with Cain to trap awakened souls. They use different methods. Cain is the institutional control of the system itself. Ragatha is the social pressure and conformity through toxic positivity, more effective than Jax. And Jax is the predatory gatekeeping through overt malice. Throughout the series, watch what Jax and Ragatha do. They actively push Kinger and Zubul out of group activities. They isolate the two characters who can't be controlled. They're preventing them from influencing Pomni. Gangle is bullied to keep her silent about what she knows. This leaves only Kinger and Zubul as Pomni's true potential allies. Everyone else is either a gatekeeper or successfully manipulated. Okay, this is Editing Josiah. I'm back. And I was looking at something. It's just mid-video of me editing. I was like, whoa. Okay, the hand that reaches out to grab her in the dream is not Kinger's. I think Kinger still will give her those instructions, as I say further on in this video. And I think his backstory is still the same that I brought up in this analysis. And that's only theory at this point. But I did see in that vision that Ragatha grabbed her, so the opposition could be Ragatha, but I don't think it's like as strong opposition as Jax. I don't think she's purposefully like keeping Pomni down. I think there's more of a, I want to stay a little bit, but not fully. Like I would love to see other people leave. So that's my opinion, and I think that she will have a part in the escape. And I say at the end of the video, I think Jax will have a, come to realization moment that Pomni is sort of like his friend in a way, and he changes for her. But after watching that, I don't think it'll happen. This is just my personal opinion, or maybe all the characters will change, who knows? But this is all my theory, this is all my analysis, so I'm gonna keep going. I'm sorry, y'all. Episode 1, The Awakening. Pomni arrives in the circus suddenly trapped as a moment when you suddenly realize you're in a cage. She desperately searches for an exit, and she finds one, a door marked exit, but it's not real. Cain admits.
I do have to apologize for lying about the exit. I knew how much all of you have been wanting there to be one, but, I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite finishing it. And you know how I never like letting people see my unfinished work. Especially if it leads you out into the void.
This is the first layer of gaslighting. The system shows you exits that lead nowhere, give you just enough hope to keep you docile. We meet Kaufmo, who recently abstracted, and this is what's happening to millions of Americans right now. The mental health crisis isn't about chemical imbalances, it's about souls breaking under systems that demand we sacrifice authentic purpose for corporate profit. The pilot ends with something profound. Circus members around a digital feast table framed exactly like Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, with Pomni in Jesus' position, while Kinger, the actual Christ figure with the cross on his head, is displaced to the side. The prophetic message is, in America, entertainers get worshipped while prophets get marginalized. The giant cellar monster that says,
"You foolish assortment of colorful characters! Do you not realize that everything must be Gloinks? I am Gloinks. You will be Gloinks. God will be Gloinks."
with the role being filled by rioting-shaped looting causing destruction. And that's inverted theology, making people think God is the chaos. This system itself is there, but it's not the Christ figure, and most likely this should be like a devil or some type of misled soul. Episode 2, when NPCs wake up. Episode 2 takes the horror deeper. During a Candy Kingdom adventure, Pomni and this gummy alligator bandit named Gummigoo glitch through the ground. They fall beneath the map into this dark corridor filled with NPC character models, lifeless duplicates of every character including Gummigoo himself. His entire reality shatters as he stands face to face with his own empty model.
My life, my memories, my friends. It's all fake.
And Pomni, she offers genuine connection.
You don't have to be. The circus, the place I'm from? Well, I'm originally from somewhere else. But if it has to be my home, maybe it can be yours too. The people there are interesting, at the very least. Maybe you could be somebody real there.
This is the authentic response to awakening. When someone realizes their entire reality is constructed, the only path to sanity is authentic human connection. Gummigoo agrees. He walks through the portal to the circus, ready to start a new life, ready to be real. And then,
I could get used to this.
Oh, looks like one of these guys made it through.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Kane deletes Gummigoo instantly, violently, his entire consciousness erased in a second while Pomni watches in horror. This is what America does to awakening. The moment someone breaks free of their programming and seeks genuine spiritual life, the system destroys them. Whistleblowers get suicided, truth tellers get deplatformed, and prophets get, medicated or institutionalized. Gummigoo's crime wasn't stealing syrup. His crime was becoming conscious. Episode 3, The Spirit Realm. Episode 3 is where everything changes. This whole episode is the Spirit Realm masked as Halloween or a scary adventure. But what Kane is actually doing is introducing the game to the spiritual dimension beneath the digital circus. When they descend into the mansion basement, they're entering the Spirit Realm. And listen, the biblical Spirit Realm isn't portrayed with rainbows and sunshine. Revelation shows us dark, disturbing imagery. A land with horns and multiple eyes, beasts rising from the seas, and cosmic warfare. In episode 3, we see soul-seeking vessels to possess, a massive angelic/demonic creature. This is authentic spiritual warfare imagery. When Kinger's quirk activates, watch what happens. The transcript describes it perfectly.
Because something different happens with each person. For instance, Kinger starts glowing, Ragatha's hair noodles stick up, Gangel's mask starts spinning, and Zubul turns straight.
My limbs straighten up and fuck off.
When Pomni gets possessed by souls, Kinger immediately asks,
Hey, you get out of her, you damn evil soul!
He exorcises demons with a shotgun, then explains,
I'm guessing the souls are attracted to living things.
Kinger understands spiritual mechanics. He navigates it with wisdom that only emerges in darkness. And then there's this moment when Kinger encounters the giant, terrifying, angelic, demonic head. This massive entity is the Spirit Realm. He does something that seems insane. He says,
Look beautiful, honey.
Got it!
Now here's what's actually happening. That giant head isn't just some random demon. It's a portal, a gateway into the deeper spirit realm. When the head opens its mouth, it literally shows Kinger visions of the spirit world. It could have swallowed him whole, but pulled him fully into the realm, closer to where his wife Queenie's spirit actually exists. Not her corrupted, abstracted form locked in the circus cellar, her real spirit. Free in what you might call heaven. And the evidence behind this is very, very obvious, as we see a woman who is killed by her husband still in hell with her husband, and she's talking to the rest of the characters in the episode. Kinger can see past the terrifying exterior of this entity. He sees that it's actually a doorway to where Queenie really is. That's why he calls it beautiful. That's why he speaks to it with affection. The head represents the thing everyone fears: death, the void, the unknown spiritual realm beyond the circus's control. But Kinger, he's been there. He brought Queenie there. He knows what's on the other side. And when you understand the infrastructure of reality the way a programmer does, when you have 7 years of computer science understanding how this digital prison works, you can recognize the difference between the prison's corruption and the authentic spiritual reality. This proves something crucial. The spirit realm exists outside Kane's control. The abstracted may look monstrous in the circus, but their true spirit exists somewhere else, somewhere real, somewhere free. Later, Kinger shares prophetic insight with Pomni about holding on to good memories and cherishing people. Now, while all of this is happening, Zubul is back in the circus having a therapy session with Kane, but watch what happens. The session flips. Zubul ends up in the therapist's chair. Kane ends up on the couch, confessing his insecurities and existential doubts. The system seeks validation from the very marginalized identity it claims to control, as I mentioned earlier. Episode 4, Corporate Slavery. Episode 4 is undeniable social commentary. Kane sends the gang to work at Spudsy's, a fast food restaurant modeled after McDonald's. Gangle is given an unbreakable plastic mask and made shift manager. Empowered by her forced smile, she becomes a tyrant. A training video plays with Gangle's voice.
I know what you're thinking. I don't want a career in fast food. I want to be a comic artist and eventually launch my own manga-inspired webcomic. And it's cool to have dreams, but you also need to remember that they're completely unrealistic, and you need to stop trying.
This is the voice of Babylon. This is every corporate training video, every Be Realistic lecture, every guidance counselor who told you to give up on your calling for a stable job. The system's telling you that authentic purpose is childish and you need to accept meaningless labor as your permanent condition. The video continues.
But before we get into all that, first things first. Are you smiling?
When Jack says no, mechanical hands grab him and force him against the screen for employee reevaluation, reprogramming his emotional state through trauma. This is MK Ultra level corporate brainwashing. You're forced to smile while your spirit dies. Throughout the episode, you can hear Gangle's plastic mask cracking internally. She's breaking on the inside while maintaining the forced smile on the outside. This is every American worker who says, live in the dream while dying on the inside. A customer orders a stupid burger with stupid sauce. That sauce literally makes you stupid. The mannequin customer says,
I'd like to order the stupid burger. Last time I ordered it here, they forgot to add the sauce that makes you stupid. Don't forget the sauce.
The system is literally feeding people stupidity, and they're demanding it. This is fluoride in the water, processed food, and corporate media algorithmic feeds. Americans are being made docile and calling it progress. Episode 6, The Elite and the Awakened. Episode 6 reveals the most disturbing dynamic, the relationship between the corrupt elite and the awakened. Jax and Pomni partner up in a battle royale adventure. They work together, strategize, hunt other teams. Pomni even embraces the chaos, calling herself Pomni the Evil. She thinks they're bonding. She thinks she's found an ally. But after eliminating everyone, when Pomni suggests maybe Jax actually cares about her, he explodes.
I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
This is the elite relationship with the awakened. The corrupt need the awakened around, not for friendship, but for entertainment. They enjoy watching the confusion, the attempts to understand, the betrayal, and they accomplish nothing together. They eliminate other teams tactically, sure, but did they escape? Did they liberate anyone? Did they change the system? No. They just played Kane's game with more efficiency. This is exactly how awakening movements operate with elite enablers. For example, the Epstein files, the awakened demand the client list, corrupt politicians promise transparency but nothing happens. And socialist movements, the awakened recognize exploitation, corrupt politicians co-opt the language, and legislation gets gutted. And then there's cryptocurrency revolution. Awaken create a decentralized alternative, corrupt VCs infiltrate, regulatory capture. The pattern is always the same. The Awaken identify the problem, the corrupt pretend to ally, they work together on service actions, the corrupt betray at critical moments, the system remains intact. The Awaken are traumatized. Jax literally says it.
You are my plaything.
The elites don't fear the Awakened, they're entertained by them. Your truth-seeking is content, your activism is engagement, your rage is ratings. The false exodus. This is the big one. This is the prophetic core of the entire series. Kane doesn't have an adventure plan, so the gang relaxes at the digital beach, but Jax is uncharacteristically silent, withdrawn. Then a blank mannequin approaches and draws a smiley face on his head and introduces himself as Abel. He claims to be one of the original developers who worked at CNA, the company that created the circus. He claims that CNA executives began forcibly linking staff to the system, putting their bodies in stasis pods. And he says he's found the way out, but they need to work together. And they must keep Kinger in the dark because he might act unpredictably. This is the setup for the false exodus. Earlier in the episode, Kane introduces the Chinese room, referencing philosopher John Searle's thought experiment about artificial intelligence. A mannequin burst out saying,
Oh, thank God.
in perfect English. He'd been trapped with just a Chinese dictionary appearing to understand Chinese without actual comprehension. This is Kane. He can appear to understand humans, respond appropriately, create elaborate scenarios, but he will never actually comprehend human consciousness, emotion, or meaning. Inside the Chinese room, words are written on the walls. Many, will, fall, egg, miscellaneous, dad, dong. These may be prophetic warnings Kane cannot decode. Many will fall could reference future abstractions, warnings to Kane that he cannot comprehend at all. When Jax confronts Kane about mind manipulation, Kane's eyes glitch and turn blue. The blue screen of death. Real AI crashes when forced to process genuine human complexity it wasn't programmed to handle. For example, in those weird AI images that can't barely generate hands, or in music when it doesn't feel soulful. Now, Abel's plan. Jax steals the key from inside Kane's mouth. Abel takes Pomni and Ragatha to collect administrator passes. Then they access the master console. They reach the console. There's two buttons, red and blue. The screen says red button, console closes, you stay trapped forever. And blue button, game ends, everyone disconnects. Pomni hesitates. She's trusting her discernment that something's wrong. She suggests maybe Kinger should push the button. Then Jax, who earlier called Abel the obvious twist villain, has a full panic attack with flashbacks to the real world. Overwhelmed, Jax slams the red button. The screen goes white, celebration music plays, and Kane appears.
Congratulations, my little cattywampus cucumbers! You picked the good ending, where you realize you'd rather stay with me than go back to that pesky old macroverse or whatever we decide to call it. I knew you'd make the right choice.
The entire thing was an adventure? Abel was an NPC? The exit was fake? It was Kane's elaborate psychological experiment? Kane thanks Abel for playing his part, then deletes him, just like Gummy Goo. What would have happened if they pressed the blue button?
Oh, I didn't put too much thought into that one, cause I knew you'd never pick it.
The blue button did nothing. There was no real choice, but here's the critical revelation. Kane was genuinely confused during the adventure. His eyes glitched. He didn't know what was happening. When Kane claims it was all just a game, you never had a real chance to escape, he's gaslighting everyone. The evidence proves otherwise. Abel appeared in previous episodes as a background stalker. Cain was genuinely confused and glitching, the infrastructure was too elaborate to be Cain's spontaneous design, and Kinger, with his program knowledge, was specifically excluded. The exit was real. Jack sabotaged it out of fear, and Cain is covering up the truth by claiming it was his plan all along. This is exactly how totalitarianism systems gaslight liberation movements. Let's talk about the prophetic symbolism here. Abel is the false prophet. In the Bible, Abel was the innocent victim murdered by Cain, but in the circus, they're collaborators. Abel appears as the savior offering exodus, but is actually controlled opposition designed to demoralize through false hope. And I'm sure, at this point, it's kind of a theory that I would see Abel as more of a sacrifice in a way, the way that someone passes away and you may use their name to gain leverage. This is every whistleblower leading people into dead ends, every truther running a limited hangout, every reformer promising change but delivering gaslighting. Kinger is the marginalized prophet. He knows the truth. He's been in the circus the longest. He has computer science knowledge that would expose the infrastructure, and Abel specifically excludes him because the system cannot allow the authentic prophet's voice to guide liberation. Pomni is the paralyzed awakened, and she sees through Abel's story, suspects it might be a trap. She trusts that Kinger would make the right choice, but she doesn't act on her discernment. She's aware, but she's paralyzed. This is the awakened American who knows the system is corrupt, but feels absolutely helpless. Jax is the corrupted self-preservationist. He was right about Abel being the twist villain, but was faced with the actual choice. He chose to keep everyone trapped rather than risk the unknown. His panic attack flashback suggests trauma in the real world, something that makes even false digital existence preferable to authentic reality. And remember, Jax has all the keys, every resource, every tool for liberation, but he uses them to sabotage escape and maintain the prison. After the adventures, when confronted about mind manipulation, Cain admits to temporary modifiers, but he says doing more would be disastrous. When Kinger brings up Scratch, the first person to ever abstract, Cain panics and runs away. This reveals Cain can manipulate their minds, and he's been lying. His modifiers cause abstraction. The mental health crisis is directly caused by the system's manipulation. In Jack's abstraction sequence, hands emerge from a triangular void with a finger-to-finger touch, directly referencing Michelangelo's The Creator of Adam, but inverted. Michelangelo's God gives life to Adam. Jax's triangle hands lead to abstraction and almost death. Counterfeit creation, the false god giving death disguised as transcendence. The elite experience counterfeit spiritual encounters through secret societies. What appears as divine touch delivers spiritual death. America's abstraction crisis. I wanted to touch a little bit more on this, so let's go a little bit deeper. When characters abstract, they transform into glitching monstrous creatures. They're still conscious, still aware, but no longer coherent. This is exactly what's happening to millions of Americans. The mental health crisis is not about chemical imbalances, it's about souls fragmenting under conditions designed to break them. We're told to work meaningless jobs, accumulate debt for education that doesn't lead to purpose, sacrifice family for career, and medicate any resistance, performing happiness while dying on the inside. When people break down, when their authentic selves start rejecting this artificial reality, we pathologize them. Anxiety becomes a disorder to treat rather than wisdom warning you something is wrong. Depression becomes a chemical imbalance instead of your soul's natural response to spiritual imprisonment. ADHD becomes a defect rather than your consciousness refusing to focus on meaningless tasks. The system doesn't fix the conditions causing the breakdown. It medicates the breakdown so you can continue functioning within the toxic system. You're kept conscious enough to work and consume, but your authentic self, your connection to divine purpose, gets locked in the basement. You become a functional shell performing required social roles while your actual soul screams in a cellar. In episode 7, we learned that Cain's temporary modifiers, his manipulation of minds, likely causes abstraction. The system's attempts to control consciousness are what causes the fragmentation. This is pharmaceutical manipulation, algorithmic content feeds, trauma-based advertising, and corporate training that reprograms emotional responses. This is why whistleblowers experience severe psychological breakdowns and we see them publicly. This is why awakening is described as going down the rabbit hole, because once you see the cage, maintaining the performance of normalcy becomes unbearable. The predicted ending by me, how this story concludes. So based on the patterns, here's how I think the story will end. In Act 1, we'll see Kinger's instructions. Pomni talks with Kinger in the dark, his fort, the safe space where he's coherent. He reveals he's been to the void and returned, explains that Kane brainwashes him in the circus's light, tells her that he couldn't have saved Queenie because the system made him incoherent. He reveals his computer science background and knowledge of the infrastructure, and he gives Pomni specific instructions on how to escape, and he warns her about who she can and cannot trust. In Act 2, the trap springs. Pomni follows Kinger's directions and tries to tell someone, probably Jax or Ragatha, that there's a real exit. This is where the controlled opposition gets fully exposed. Jax and Ragatha reveal they know about the exit. They reveal they're working with Kane. The whole circus is set up for anyone who is newly woken up. The game exists for those who get too close to the truth outside the circus. A dream within a dream, a prison for escapees. An active chase sequence begins. In Act 3, we get the origins revealed. During the chase, we learn the full backstory. Jax's crew, Kaufmo abstracted, Jax got comfortable and started working with Kane. In Act 4, we probably see the escape. Zubul and Gangle help Pomni break free somehow. Gangle finally may act on her suppressed knowledge, completing what she and the original resistors started. Zubul uses their own dismantled parts as tools for liberation. The system broke them, and they're using what broke them as instruments of escape. Jax may have a redemption. He sees his dead friends, Ribbit and Kaufmo, and Pomni. He has a last-minute change of heart, finally honors his friend's sacrifice by helping instead of stopping the escape. He might sacrifice himself to buy time or create the opening. Pomni is ejected into the void. There's a complete rejection of the digital prison, breaking free into the actual reality beyond all systems, into the void. The void is terrifying but real, unfiltered divine truth. Those without spiritual grounding struggle to handle it. The circus continues for others still trapped, but the escape is possible. The prison can be broken. And here's my prophetic warning. We are in the circus now. The Amazing Digital Circus is not predicting a future dystopia, it's revealing the present reality you're in. Americans are trapped in psychological systems we didn't choose, economic systems demanding we sacrifice calling for survival, media systems manipulating perception through algorithmic feeds, corporate structures treating humans as resources to optimize, and pharmaceutical systems medicating resistance rather than addressing systemic poison. Political systems offering false choices between scripted outcomes. We can't die, we can't escape, so we develop coping mechanisms. Some force optimism, as Ragatha, some embrace nihilistic cruelty, like Jax, some seek endless without finding, like Zubul, and some become fragile and dependent, like Gangle. Some go on mad prolonged exposure, like me, Kinger. Some are newly awakened, Pomni. And if we completely give up, we abstract. We fragment into functional shells that can work and consume but have no authentic spiritual core. But here's the crack in the matrix. Kane was confused. During the Able adventure, his eyes glitched. This proves that the system is not omniscient. This proves that there are genuine opportunities for liberation that even the architects don't fully understand. The exits are real. They just get sabotaged by the corrupt, and then the system claims they never existed. The Amazing Digital Circus is preparing you to recognize when you're in spiritual prison, when profits are being marginalized, when exits are being sabotaged, when systems gaslight you, and when your breakdown is actually breakthrough. You are Pomni, you are awakening, and you are facing the button. When you trust your discernment, you will build outside the circus. Or will you let the Jaxes press the red button while Kanes gaslight you that freedom was never possible? The exit is real. Your calling is real. The system's confusion proves it. If this analysis resonates with you, share this work. The Awakened need to find each other. Use the tools Jax hoards. Don't gatekeep the keys. Subscribe to the Purple America Network. I'm producing a multitude of videos, and I just released one called The Babylon Code, a documentary exploring the patterns across ancient prophecy and modern systems. It is a little long, but I would encourage you to watch it. The Amazing Digital Circus is prophecy. You're living in it right now. The question is, what are you going to do about it?